Okay, call a meeting to order. First order of business is to adopt the agenda. Be it resolved the agenda for February 19, 2019 meeting be accepted as presented. Can somebody please move that? Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Soya. Discussion? All in favor? Councilor Rowe? I don't think he's hearing me.
Yeah, quick, Terry. We'll just talk really loud.
Okay. Confirmation minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the January 15th regular meeting be hereby approved as circulated. Somebody please move that. Councillor McGregor, seconder. Councillor Hargraves. Errors or omissions? Not a call to vote. All in favor?
Can you hear us okay, Dennis?
Tony, I can hear you just fine, but you're the only one at the head table I can hear.
Okay, we'll speak really loud.
Thank you.
Okay. Finance General Account. Be it resolved that the February 14, 2019 General Accounts payables being checks number 3490 to 3535, 3537 to 3548, and 3550 to 3557 in the amount of $197,750.38 be hereby approved. May you please move that? Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor Soyak. Discussion? All in favor? Be resolved that the February...
Wait one moment.
I'm sorry, yeah. This is what you... Be resolved that the February 14, 2019 General Accounts payable checks number 3536 and 3549 in the amount of $4,014 be hereby approved. Somebody please move that. Councilor Hargraves, seconder. Councilor Fowle. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. You come back in.
Pardon me, Joni.
Yes?
Maybe if you could just turn it back towards the head table the way we used to have it.
Okay.
Thanks.
We were just hoping that this might let you hear the councillors better. There we are. Is that better?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Be it resolved that the direct deposit 0074 being staff payroll for the period January 14th to January 25th, 2019 in the amount of $12,587.39 be hereby approved. Somebody please move that. Councillor Fowle, seconder. Councillor McGregor. Discussion? All in favor? Be it resolved that the direct deposit 0075 being staff payroll for the period January 28th to February 8th, 2019 in the amount of $11,553.15 be hereby approved. Somebody please move that. Councilor McGregor, seconder. Councilor McDonald. Discussion? All in favor? Be it resolved that the direct deposit 0076 being council indemnities for the amount of for the month of January 2019 in the amount of $6,348.92 be hereby approved. Somebody please move that. Councilor McGregor, seconder. Councilor Soya. Discussion? All in favor? Sure. Utility account. Be it resolved that the February 14th, 2019 utility accounts payable being checks number 437 to 447 in the amount of $6,912.29 be hereby approved. Somebody please move that. Councilor McDonald, seconder. Seconder. Councilor Hargraves. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, be it resolved that the statement of revenue and expenditure report to January 31st, 2019 be received and presented. Can somebody please move that? Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor McGregor. Discussion? Councilor McGregor.
Mr. Chairperson, I was just wondering, when do we think we'll have a 2018 internal financial statement ready to look at? Like for the year, when could we see a 2018 statement?
You're
Your Worship, if I could, they've come and done an interim 2018, and they are booked to come and do their audit with us in April.
I just mean our internal statements.
Oh, the internal statements?
Yeah, like once, like I think there was still some year-end posting being done, right?
And
a copy once that's done.
pretty much where you were at with the color-coded budget document gives you the numbers up to date. We won't close anything off until we've actually had the auditors come in and know that we've got all the adjusting entries that they're after.
Any further? All in favor? Okay, you want to do the delegation? Well, for delegations this morning, we have from the Southwest Horizon School Division, Carolyn Corey and Kevin Zabowski, who are from the school division. Come forward, please. The floor is all yours.
For 10 minutes, correct?
Pardon?
10 minutes, right?
You could have more if you really
I
need.
think you can do 10 minutes. Thank you. I'm Carolyn Corey, Superintendent of Southwest Horizon School Division. I'm a resident of this municipality, 3 miles down the road, so I got a little bit of sleep in this morning, so I appreciate that. Kevin Zabowski, our Secretary Treasurer, and he lives in Surrey, has been with us for, this is our 6th year together that we became executive of Southwest Horizon. So we are here today on behalf of the Board of Trustees. Janice McDonald is our local trustee. She's also the chair, was unable to be here today.
Carolyn, just
Dennis, do you want us to try and turn it around to see if you can hear the presenters?
Sure, I'm actually getting a bit of it. I'd probably get more.
Okay. Sorry. There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
sorry.
Janice McDonald is our chair, and your local trustee was unable to be here today, so asked if Kevin and I would come. We have other trustees over at 2 Borders this morning speaking. The trustees have been going to all the local municipalities to get our message out about the upcoming education review. You may have been hearing about that in the news. It was announced on January 23rd that the provincial government is undergoing a province-wide review of education with the idea that we want to be the most improved province in Canada within the next 10 years. So out of that review, it came to our trustees' attention. They just want to make sure that our stakeholders know about the review and have an opportunity to talk about it. It's easy, as we've seen in other systems, to find out after the fact and then not have a lot of say in what happens. So we're here today to talk to you about the review. We're asking for your support in maybe getting a message out to your ratepayers. You have other avenues to reach people that need to do. So that's basically what we're here for. The province is looking for information from students, staff, parents, and all stakeholders on student learning, on teaching, on accountability, on governance, and finally on funding. There are 6 months for submissions, and right now it's open that people can send in written submissions to a website, and we can share that with you afterwards. And there are to be local meetings where people can go and speak. We haven't heard anything yet. We do check that website daily to make sure we're not going to miss that opportunity to go and have our voice heard. So again, we're endeavoring to make sure that all of our stakeholders know about this. We believe that students in Southwest Horizon deserve the same opportunities as students in Pembroke Trail School Division, Winnipeg, or in Brandon right beside us. Just because we're small doesn't mean that we don't have the same opportunities for our students. Part of the concern from the board's point of view is that there have been rumors about amalgamations, and every time the minister speaks, he says amalgamations are, everything's on the table, nothing is off the table. So that's a little bit of the concern. The school tax discussion is a concern, and that's probably what you would be most interested in speaking about. We met with local MLAs on January 23rd, happened to be the same day that the announcement came out about the education review. And the trustees had many questions for them, and they assured us throughout that meeting that there is no predetermined outcome for this review. They were just asking people that have been reviewed for 50 years, what do we need to do for education in Manitoba? If you were reading Free Press this weekend, the Minister of Education had a few different things to say that do make us a little bit wondering about what is going to happen at the end of the 6-month review. So back to some of the myths around what might happen with this review. Amalgamation. It is our trustees' viewpoint that bigger isn't always better. Decisions, if we amalgamated, or even if it went to one system that we would just report to the province, decisions would be removed from our local communities. We have 13 schools in Southwest Horizon. We are 6,500 square kilometers, the size of Prince Edward Island. I live on the east side, and for me to get to the furthest school at Pearson is as long a drive as for me to get to the outskirts of Winnipeg. So if we get much larger in size, I'm not so sure how much hands-on we would be with our students. The Frontier Center did an analysis following the last set of amalgamations in 2001 and showed that there was not one bit of money saved with amalgamation. In fact, spending increased in the whole process of amalgamating. The savings and administration costs were net almost negligible, and that there was no correlation between school board size and per pupil expenditures. The time and money spent in amalgamation will not necessarily result in improved achievement for our students. We would like to focus on what is working for our students and continue on with that. We need local boards to address local needs. 70% of rural Manitobans, when polled in November, said that they want to keep their local school boards. That number is not as high in the city, but in rural Manitoba, it's 70%. The second myth I just wanted to address, that we are the myth is that we are the last province to collect property tax to fund education. And that's not true. Every province in Canada continues to collect property tax to fund education. But we are the last province to have local oversight of those taxes. We keep what is collected, and it goes straight to our schools. If we go to centralized funding, that does not mean that there will be less tax. It will probably just mean that there will be less tax for our students in our community. What would happen if school property taxes disbanded? Right now, in most divisions of the province, 40 to 50% of school funds come from property tax. So if that were to be disbanded, where would that 40 to 50% have been coming from? Would that mean we would lose half of our schools? We know that in our small communities, even such as Wawanesa and Surrey, which are the larger communities in our school division, that those communities will not last without a school. The schools are the future of the communities. They're the ones who are going to fill the positions, who are going to be there to look after some of us when we become elderly. We need those schools. Centralized education funding will basically mean we may share our taxes with the Manitoba Legislative Assembly. So when 5 years ago when we came on board, we went to our stakeholders and we did a lot of survey, meeting with students, meeting with staff, meeting with parents. What do we need to do in our area to improve education? There were many ideas, but one of the largest ones was we need opportunity for industrial arts. The only industrial arts education we had in our division was the Surrey School. Nothing else. So the board listened to that. They worked their magic with the numbers. Mostly Kevin worked his magic with the numbers. Then we have increased industrial arts. We've added graphics communication in every school, culinary arts in every school, electronics in every school. We've added a Second Woods program in Delray. We just opened it last week, so that now all students in our division get an opportunity to try some of those things. Had that not been a local voice and a local board listening, I'm not so sure that those kinds of decisions would be made. The final myth I'd like to talk about is the education part of it, where we continually hear in our media that Manitoba students are the last in the province. We are at the bottom. And though that data shows that, they don't talk about the difference between the bottom and the top. The difference between the bottom province, which is us right now, and the top, which is British Columbia, is basically raising the achievement of 2 students in every classroom in Manitoba would put us at the top. 2 students. We can do that. And I know your head council was at our AGM last week, and I did show some data to show that we are making movement on that. But that, again, doesn't happen overnight, and there's not one magic pill to make that happen. We need to know your students, we need to know your staff, and we need to know your community. We strongly believe in that. And I'm just going to stop at this point because I believe you're going to have questions about taxes and money, and that's where Kevin comes in, because that's his expertise. But I just want to end with a quote from John Dewey, who is one of the fathers of modern education. And he said, what the best and wisest parent wants for his own child, that must the community want for all of its children. Any other ideal for our schools is narrow and unlovely. Acted upon, it destroys our democracy. And we believe that schools are the bedrock of democracy. That's where we level the playing field for all children, and we have equity of opportunity. And we'd like to continue to offer that to our students. So we're looking for your support in getting the message out so that people at least have a voice. Questions?
Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you for coming, and thank you for everything that you guys do. We are very lucky to have a school that we have in our community, and I'm very proud of that school. So thank you for everything you guys do to make that happen. My first question is, just at the start you mentioned that Minister Gertson had said that we want to be the most improved province. And maybe that was what you were talking about at the end, but what measurements are they using? Have they announced that yet? Or?
No.
Okay.
Some of the things they're tracking are one is grad rate. So they've started to publish, we've always published our graduation rates, but now they're publishing it on one document so people can compare school divisions. And so there seems to be a bit of a pressure for school divisions in certain areas where their grad rates are lower. Our grad rate over the last 5 years has been between 86 and 88%. And the goal for 2023 across the province is that we have 90% of our students graduating. And that's on-time graduating within 4 years. Students have until 21 to graduate with us, but they're tracking on time. So far, that's the only thing that they've been tracking. They have been looking at PISA, which is a international assessment, and PCAP, which is a national assessment. And those are the places where Manitoba is number 10 in Canada. But we have to remember that Canada is in the top 5 to 6 in the world. All right? So we can certainly improve, but it's not like our children aren't competitive in the world. So far that's all they've got for us.
Just to talk about the industrial arts program. Source had it.
Yes.
Industrial arts. They had home ec.
They did.
And then they yanked all that stuff out.
They did.
And now you're spending money back to do it again.
We didn't have to spend much money to put the Woods program, the machines were all still there. So then that was going again before Kevin and I came along. The foods and nutrition that we had in culinary arts, what was the total there?
Yeah, 30,000.
We did in 7 schools. We put that in for that amount of money. We have our own operations staff who designed portable. You should go to one of the schools, but they've got portable little kitchens that they can move around, and you didn't have to add any space. So we just used an existing classroom.
Okay, because like it is important that these students or children or whatever you call it have some kind of skill. Sitting there in front of a laptop or your iPhone and everything else just doesn't work. Life skills. I have a 21-year-old kid at home that doesn't know how to write out a check. Seriously.
Right, no, I know.
So you got to go on more of a life living thing rather than your academics, right? So.
I agree. That's what we're trying to do.
So, in this municipality, I'm not sure the split, but some Lake Brown area school board and some Lake Southwest. If we went to a amalgamated, I've heard it could be split the province in half, even is what I've heard. We don't know. But so would all that, like, would everyone have the same rate then?
Yeah, for each school division, it would be one mill rate. So currently, Southwest Horizon School Division is between the 3rd and the 4th lowest mill rate in the province. the average, our mill rate right now going into the 2019-20 budget is 10.5, I believe it is. And the average in the province is around 14. So
I just
there will be some sort of,
I just know Brandon here is almost, it's 5 mils higher than Southwest. So,
The concern is that if they go to 1 mill rate, they're not going to go to the lowest mill rate, probably, right? So we could effectively see a good mill rate. But again, we are just supposing.
One of the things I handed over to the group here this morning, to Carolyn and Kevin, is that my Alberta tax notice I had from last year is there. Alberta did not have an education tax, but what they did have is they started substituting that with a provincial tax. So that tax now went to the general revenue side of things rather than education specifically. So you don't know where that money is going to go to and how they're going to adjust the education levels from that point. We do have a lot more say now, and we have seen amalgamation has not been the nicest thing even in our municipalities right now. It hasn't been the easiest and the softest thing to go through, and we haven't seen a lot of savings in money from amalgamations on the municipality side. So for them to say that that's going to be better has to be questioned. Of course, what's going to happen when they do their report, when they do their study, it's up to them.
You guys, you had mentioned in Carol, similar to what Kevin just mentioned about mill rate and where we rank. Do you have any other measures of dollars per student or something like that? I'm always a little bit leery of mill rate because it is only one half of the equation and ignores the assessed values. So.
Right. So for every dollar, this is provincial. This is for Manitoba School Board Association, and Kevin might be able to give you a little bit clearer picture here. But 80 cents of every dollar goes directly to the classroom. And that's very similar to our division. 10 cents goes to operations and maintenance. And we have to admit that our schools are very old in our province. They were all built around the same time. There's lots of needs there. Transportation is a huge cost for our division. We're 6,500 square kilometers. We spend a lot on transportation that a smaller division might not. 4 cents goes on from every dollar goes to transporting kids in the province. I would imagine ours is quite a bit higher than that. 3 cents pays for the administration. Half a cent supports the school board. So half a cent on every dollar collected goes towards running the school board. And the province is talking about, do we really need 290 trustees? They cost some money. It's only half a cent on every dollar. And the remaining funds are delivered to other local programming, such as adult learning centers, etc. We do partner with the adult learning center to run out the school division.
Do you have it broken down in different accounts? Do you have it broken down into our school division at all?
For our school division, I don't have a correct breakdown here, but we are a little bit higher on the cost per student, but it really is because our transportation costs are so much greater. We are transporting students around the size of basically around the size of Prince Edward Island, whereas some of the city schools, even Brandon's school division, they're just transporting in and around Brandon. So transportation is a bigger cost for us. We have Carolyn mentioned that provincially wide it's 4% of every school division's budget. Ours is closer to 8 or 9%.
Maybe you could touch on the student transfers from one school to another. There's 2 different categories in that.
There is. So there's two categories in that. One is called school of choice, and the other one is called program not offered. So school of choice means that a student, let's say in Oakland-Wawanesa, going to Brandon's school division, that's taking courses that we offer. That's just what they call a school of choice fee. When that happens, our school division has to transfer over some dollars to Brandon's school division because we're collecting taxes in our school division, and we are to pay them that portion of that tax. So it is $1,300 per student per year. That's if we offer the program in our school division. If we don't offer the program in our school division, for something like when students from our school division go into Brandon to Crocus Plains for auto body or power mechanics, heavy duty mechanics, that's what they call program not offered. And in that case, we pay Brandon School Division almost $6,000 per year per student. So we don't have that type of programming in our school division, so we do have to pay them that. As well as we also have a program not offered fee that we pay Brandon and DSFM, which is the French school board in the province, for French programming, because we don't offer French immersion. Any of our students, our kids in our school division going to those schools, we have to pay that program not offered fee as well.
Do you know what our vision here? Because I think there's more kids transferred into Wawanesa school than there is out. Would that be right there?
Across the division, we break even almost for the school of choice stuff. So we have about the same amount of students in our division going into other school divisions as we do from other school divisions coming into our school division. The program not offered side of things is where it does cost the division some dollars.
We had investigated and requested the province that we were looking at trying to do an automotive program where they would get their 8 credits and that, but we don't have the enrollment to justify a program like that. So they basically said this: you have to tell us that you're going to have so many students for so many years before you're allowed to start a program like that. So we really, our hands are tied. That's why we're doing the industrial arts route. We can offer a few credits in each of those areas. We're looking to see if we can get automotive going next year. There are no promises here. I'm saying it publicly, but we're trying. But there are certain programs that we're just not going to be able to ever offer. So those students who need that opportunity and they choose to go to Brandon, we're just going to continue to pay the $6,000 a year per student.
And that's their right. If they choose to go to another school division for program, that's fine.
The apprenticeship program, has that helped our graduation numbers?
Yeah, and you know what? We've had apprenticeship for so many years that we haven't been, I don't know if we have any data pulled out there, but we do have many students who benefit from that apprenticeship program. And some who will go into ACC with their level 1 and end up not having to pay at all because there's such a program that if we got to the first level, they continue to pay for it. So we've got many students. We also have a program called Career Development Initiative for students that may not be in a trade, but if they're interested in firefighting, they can get a placement, go and work, get their hours in, and get credit for that. If they want to be a physiotherapist, or they think they might, they get to go work with a physiotherapist. So those don't, it's not necessarily a trade, but it's experience out there in the workforce.
We have one student, I think, right now that's in the fire department getting a credit, which is, I thought, fabulous. Great program. Anything further?
Is that a apprenticeship program just Southwest, or is that?
That's province-wide.
I think it's huge to keep some students in school and otherwise to be there.
That's right.
Is it difficult for our children, if they say want to go to Crocus Plains, to actually get a spot at Crocus Plains, or
No.
no?
No, because that's revenue for the division. Right? Like they're asking to go in grade 9. They don't close the program out offering in grade 9 because there really aren't too many courses they can take in their trade. But once they go to grade 10, we've never had a student that's requested there that was in my time.
I'd like to speak to the apprenticeship program. There is a nominal fee when they go for their first level at ACC. The student fee in itself is only $50, and then they receive a bursary from the province, which they would then declare on their income, but it's about a $5,100 bursary that the province will give you for every level that you attain after reaching your accredited hours that you would need to go for your next level of theory. So to me, those young people that are interested in the apprenticeship programs, and if it's offered through the schools, I would encourage them to definitely take it. Personally speaking, my son went through that program and he thought it was amazing. You know, just the cost of the bursary in itself to offset the cost of the education through the college program. And it's not necessarily had to go to ACC, it can be to Red River or School of Choice as far as that would go. But it is really, really beneficial looking at students that are so unsure as to what their career path would be. So this gives them another choice.
Could I ask you about swimming in, I know that they offer the swimming lessons in school, is that just, is it all schools in the Silverback, or just the ones that have pools in the community?
It's pretty much on a case-by-case basis. Sturs does it as well. Melita just started last year. She loved Delaware. That's a site.
I heard where there's a Indian block community, and offer that, and that's just pass that on.
I remember the days where we bused kids into Brandon to take swimming lessons back in the day when I taught boys. So, yeah,
minus 40.
not minus 45. It's minus 40.
Do you have any data from the last evaluation that was done here, like how mill rate was affected, how administration costs were affected, something to show that, my take is that you don't think amalgamation will benefit, so do you have something that backs that up from that last evaluation?
We have to go in.
Is that, my memory, is that 3 divisions? Two. Okay. That would be interesting, and that would be helpful, I think, to make the case locally if you could relate it to a local example.
Actually, I believe there is a document on the Manitoba School Boards Association's website that has that breakdown, so I could take a look and see if I can find it.
I think in the last year, I did have attended the last couple of your AGMs and your budget meetings, and I've been thoroughly impressed with how you guys have been able to maneuver around and the reduction in revenue from the government to keep these schools all at the present levels they're at. We haven't lost a teacher. Our programs are fabulous. Our teachers are fabulous. I'm a little biased to our school, but at the same time, I think you guys are doing a great job, and you should be commended for it.
Is there any role for us to play right now in providing support other than talking to people?
I think we have a, Joni, do you have, is there a resolution that we do, or?
Do you have something in mind?
As it is right now, it's just a receipt.
Well, I think that we had sent a copy of this to you, and we wondered if you can put that on your Facebook page. You have different ways of, or however you're communicating now. We can also send you the website where people can go in and give their own submissions, their submissions. I just want to be clear that the board's not saying to people, we need you to say such and such. We just want people to know and to be able to voice. And if they have other ideas that we haven't thought of, it's all in the best interest of the students, right? So whatever message people want to send, we just want to make sure they know that they have the opportunity. The other piece that we, MSBA has told our trustees is that the voice really comes from municipalities. We don't have a lot of audience with the province as trust, and I don't mean our trustees do not have a lot of audience with the province, but municipalities certainly do. So that anything that you would be willing to offer in support of having local voice, local schools would only be a bonus for us. So we would just leave that to the side.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, be it resolved that the presentation by Carolyn Corey, Superintendent, and Kevin Zabowski, Secretary Treasurer of Southwest School Division, be received. If somebody please move that. Councilman McDonald, second by Councilman McGregor. Discussion. All in favor? Okay, next we have the Neil Zalewski with Assiniboine Hills Conservation District. You have our attention, Neil? Okay. doing barley the other day.
So that's kind of, sheet that handed out is the project expenses that were spent in the RM last year. And then we should have all received a copy of the proposal for the changes to the conservation program, which will be the watershed district. I'm not sure how long those were. Bill said is what they call it. So I guess you guys should have sent a copy of the resolution that hopefully will pass at the end of the meeting today, which will be some proposal. But if you want to look at this sheet here first, the one that was handed out, you can kind of talk about the money that was spent. So that's last year we spent $134,560 within the municipality honors. And you guys paid in through the program $10,945 last year, so pretty big return on the investment there. So the one big dam that was done was at Green Acres. It was done just upstream of the road. So it's a water supply to their pond that they're using right now for the geothermal. So they were a little concerned about possibly running out of water in the geothermal, so we found more water. But they didn't know that when they got a private thing we did, so they'll should help them quite a bit there. So
They get to control it?
yeah. But it's upstream of the one that's existing, so nothing over downstream that's it'll be the same as it is now downstream. So we want to make sure that it wasn't gonna increase or decrease downstream flows. And most of the stuff that they use is food operation anyways. This one there is, we're trying to keep it even if we can. So a lot of this money came from several grants that the Conservation District was able to receive. So we're driving a lot of proposal writing. Sometimes we hit, sometimes we don't. But last year we hit pretty good, so it's nice to get some of that work done. Any questions on that sheet?
What were the alternate water systems?
We did, so through Manitoba Aid, through called Canadian Aid Partnership, so it's a federal provincial program. So we applied for some of the landowners that had some riparian areas along the river, and they wanted to put some alternate water systems in, some fencing, so that's what we did for the livestock. The animals off the water, off out of the rivers and stuff. So that's clean water, which kind of keeps the natural areas of the keeping them out of there.
Good.
The well shock, was that municipal wells, or was that?
No. Everything. Rather than just like one children. We don't really track costs there. It's really staff time. These expenses don't include our staff time. A different budget line, so this is the well shop, you charge $50 and then the process will be $40 and then staff time and hours.
So there'd be a provision for community receivers in here?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a number of community receivers. No, that one was
I just wondered if
yeah. You guys got a problem with beavers at all? This call or what?
on the roof
Seems to be pretty effective way to do it. Any questions with that? Then we'll get to the proposal. You guys all have a chance to look over it. Any questions? The number one question that we get is the budget. So, we go to page 10 in the booklet, if you don't need to write there. So the evaluation usually there at the cost of what? Substrate erosion, the cost went down almost $1,000. And they're bringing in the same amount of levy as they want to. So, but like after the changes to the boundaries will be pretty close to the same size property now, and we'll have the same amount. The board wanted to make sure that we weren't going too crazy one way or the other. We wanted to make sure that we could still function as we are today.
Now, this is still in consultation, is it not?
It's pretty much done.
Is it?
January 2020 is
You're going to put it into effect?
start off the event.
Because when I was at the AMM meeting that we were at in November, it said the consultation period was going to go so far. So no, this was a proposal and it hasn't been set as to whether that was going to be the final. Are you indicating now that that's?
I think, well, this is still a proposal. I think they want to see how many municipalities join, how many, pull out or whatever they want to do. So then I'll go from there, but we told that the boundaries are pretty much the boundaries that we'll start planning for.
What do you see in changes for us?
For you guys, absolutely nothing. I think it'll be, you guys are pretty locked in right now in the middle of our city as it is, and you'll stay there. So the water that's moving around in and out of here will be the same as it is now. We'll have access to those same partners. So the real impacts for this proposal is on the outskirts. Because it'll try to close a lot of those hits so that we deal with the watershed boundaries, not using the square boundaries.
One of the things that they brought up, maybe it's a couple of things, is that culvert size. If you're going to replace a culvert, you don't have to get permission for it anymore as long as it stays the same size.
Yeah, that's a different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not with this.
But yeah, I don't think there's some changes with that too. It's supposed to be a lot easier for municipalities and works.
Neil, we've got representatives that are currently appointed to the Assiniboine Hills Conservation District.
Yep.
In looking at the proposal, it doesn't look as if we're needing to appoint any additional people, but it looks as if the names of what they're appointed to are changing. Has there been any discussion at all with our appointees? Is that something that we need to follow up with and see? We've got people that are not due to be replaced until into 2020. Are we assuming then that there's been some discussions with the appointees so that they know they're now representing a different name but still on the same board?
Once we get all the paper back for this, we will be in touch with them.
Okay.
I'll have a chat with them about what's going on. Like I said, for you guys, I think everything should be just stay the same.
Anything further? Thank you, Neil.
Okay. Okay.
Two resolutions, this one first and then the whereases.
Okay, be it resolved that the presentation by Neil Zalewski, manager of the Assiniboine Hills Conservation District regarding the change to watershed districts be received. If someone please move that. Mr. Powell, second by Councillor McGregor. All in favor? Okay, so whereas the municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa is currently a member of the Assiniboine Hills Conservation District, and whereas the council of the municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa has reviewed the proposal for the Central Assiniboine Watershed District as prepared by the Manitoba government that supports a watershed-based approach to water management in Manitoba, therefore be it resolved that the council of the municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa approves the proposal for Central Assiniboine Watershed District and supports the continued membership in this program under the authority of the Watershed Districts Act. Next, somebody please move that. Councillor Powell, second by Councillor McDonald. Discussion?
I'm not sure if Councillor Rowe can hear right now.
Can you hear us, Dennis?
I can hear you fine. Joni, I think if you were to turn it and face it towards Dave, then I'd be able to hear what he's saying.
Hey.
Just angle it maybe. So therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa approves a proposal for the Central Assiniboine Watershed District that supports the continued membership in this program under the authority of the watersheds.
Can you get it more towards Dave? Thank you.
So therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa approves the proposal for the Central Assiniboine Watershed District and supports the continued membership in this program under the authority of the Watershed Districts Act. We had a mover and a seconder.
Moved by Councillor Fowles, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Okay, discussion? Not? Call vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, you want to? Eric Baldwin is now here with RF Now, I should say, Incorporated. Come on to the table here, please. Eric, you want to turn that against the desk?
Sorry, I just want to all right, you got mine, I'll wait. That's my contact.
You're going to share.
That's okay. So go ahead.
RF Now, we are an internet provider. Our business plan is to provide internet to rural communities throughout Manitoba, Saskatchewan. We are proposing a path coming through 2 miles is 2 miles west and 2 miles east of Highway 10, bringing fiber down through their community. And I'm not exactly sure what else you would want to know in this fact.
So who would it,
Okay, go ahead.
who would it be serving? Anyone?
Anyone that would want to sign up, absolutely. Right now in Brandon South area, your area, I believe we have 4 or 5 customers already, and usually that triples as soon as the product gets people start seeing the line actually being installed. We're looking at hopefully starting this line on March 25th with our directional drills to start. I might pronounce it wrong. Marna Road, which is just 1 mile to the south of 101 bypass, and going west for 2 miles and east for 2 miles, and then going down, I believe it's 65th Avenue and 17th Avenue up to Highway 65th. And so what we do is we come in here in middle of March and we drill underneath all the access roads, driveways, and branch roads and highways. And then somewhere in the area of March, depending on the snow melts, we bring our plow cabs in to plow in the fiber and then take it into the rural community that will keep us on.
So this is talking fiber optic. Do you have a charge per connection?
Yes, we do. So how ours works is much different than how the big guys work. So if you look at MTS and the rest of the hydro, because we service a lot of businesses and farmers, and there's much, I'm sure you guys are farmers and know how big we are. So our price is $139.99 for the month with a $799 install fee. Now, we leave our internet 100%. So there's no data caps. I have it in my house, and basically you can leave Netflix on 24/7, 365 days of the year, and you won't see an extra penny added to your bill. Where a lot of larger companies are more interested in chasing the population, the numbers, because they're large entities. Our business plan is to go after the communities where the big guys won't go, such as the farming community and businesses. So right now we have a line from basically Carberry all the way to Whitewood, and basically up through Oakland-Wawanesa down all the way to Homestead. So we have about 700 miles of line out through Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
So you're looking at getting into any communities, for instance, like Nesbitt or Wawanesa or?
Absolutely, absolutely. So our plan, last year we finished off on the west side of Brandon, This year, it's to bring our line all the way down to Highway 2 into Nesbitt here, also in Carroll, and then eventually going into Wawanesa as well. But the Wawanesa path won't be until the following week.
Same price for hookup and monthly charge?
Yes, yes. Where we outdo our competitors is Next Steps, MTS, Bell, all the rest of them. They'll provide you a service of 30 over 7, meaning you get 30% of the service. And if you go over top of your data cap, then they start charging you extra. I'm sure you guys all have Netflix are you guys, you don't want to have any wireless out here, so it's net set for you pretty much, is that it?
It's basically,
Yeah. So net set, once you go over, you notice how high your costs go up.
And how it slows down?
Yeah, absolutely. Ours is open 100%, so ours is incredibly fast. And even like I said, you'll never see a higher charge than 139 minutes.
Yours is still, it's going to be wireless or it's fiber to the home?
It's fiber to the home.
Okay.
Yeah, so how we do it is, just so you understand how it all works, is the main fiber, it works very similar to underground water and sewer. So your main backbone, which was your main fiber going through, we pay for that ourselves. Okay, we don't charge that out to you. That's something that's financed through the company over a period of time. And then basically from the point where your house is from there we take a fiber from the backbone into the house. So you're only paying for the fiber from your house to the closest point where you can use the backbone. Yes.
And is there a variance in cost regarding the distance that has to go, or is it $7.99 regardless?
There is a difference in cost depending how far the customer is out. So if the customer is 3 or 4 miles away from the main distribution fiber, then that $79.99 might rise, depending on how far the customer is.
So that distribution fiber should be running basically parallel to number 2, is what you're saying?
Yes, parallel to number 2 miles off each side of Highway 10. And the reason we picked that route, just so you know, is because that's where we're crossing the majority of the population in that area, to keep the cost down for the customer.
you're not actually 3 miles east. You're coming down the north.
Yeah. We start off at 2 miles and we go 1 mile down, and then we go down the highway.
I have a couple questions. Sure. Okay, so if you're in our municipal right of way for provincial highway right of way, what about if somebody gets one of your lines or locates?
Okay.
If somebody's going to, whether if Darcy wants to put a culvert in, or if he wants to locate, or provincially, if they want, or somebody gets it with a piece of equipment upstairs.
So we work the same as MPS or anybody else. So we're of course part of that first call. So if your municipality, for instance, wanted to put a culvert in our line was in the area, you would basically call for a locate. We would come out and locate that line for you. Okay, no different than anywhere else how it operates. If you accidentally hit our line, we're a business. So we got to look at each one individually, right? Because you can't say that a customer or a municipality would be charged if they hit our line, because the circumstances might be different, right? So what we normally do, and I'll give you an example, Whitewood's always hitting just because they have so much infrastructure and so forth out there. What we usually try to do with the municipalities is, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. When you hit my line, that's fine. I might need some direction in your area. Other times we'll charge it. We leave that up to the municipalities to decide how they want to interact with us. So if we want to treat it as a business where you hit my line, I charge you, I hit your line, you charge me, that's absolutely fine too. Just keep in mind that if someone hits our line, really it takes me an hour to fix it. So the cost is very limited.
It's not all little lawyers that are interested in fire.
Absolutely it is, but once you get into this business, 12 count fiber, which will be being ran through here, it takes my fusers 20 minutes to fuse those 12 counts together. So the truth of it is, in a lot of ways, it's more time consuming and paying an ass to actually charge people for it, if that makes sense. It takes me an hour to go to document when I can send my guys.
So where do you have a shop or do you have service guys?
Okay, so we are based out of Vernon, Manitoba. Okay, so that's our home base in Vernon. Now, throughout Vernon, about every 85 miles, we put up a knock. And what a knock is, it's electrical panel, essentially. Okay? That's where all the fibers will run into, and the light will be shot down as fibers to the individual houses. So, but we are based out of Vernon, and we have a knock in Brandon, for instance. So that knock from Brandon will travel 85 miles before we need to put another one. So you got anyone that signs up here will be based out of the knock in Brandon, and we have workers constantly there. We got provided service, so whenever anything goes down, we're up there very quickly to fix it.
I have a couple of questions. We're exploring the option of rural water, and how will that affect us if we're putting, like if we want to put the pipe down where you guys would put your fiber, I guess. The other one is like farmers doing drainage, or if we have to lower a ditch, if you're only going a meter down, like how's that work?
Okay, let me address the last one first. So, all the way from, like I said, Whitewood all the way to Carberry. I haven't actually experienced yet of a farmer digging in the ditch or anything that actually interrupted our lines.
We've done it, but
okay.
Not to your company, but
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced that yet, to be honest with you, where a farmer wanted to widen out approach or put a culvert in and hit our lines. So, and part of that reason is we're out there quite quickly to locate. So we provide locates, and we're quite efficient at that. So it doesn't impede other people's work. So I can't answer your question on there because I haven't seen it yet here.
Yeah.
Second of all, if our line is crossing and you are putting in a water line after our line's in, most companies with water lines are directional drilling now. A lot of them. Some are open excavating. So usually we just locate and they directionally drill underneath our line. There are cases with some of the pipeline companies that we'll actually physically come out and cut a line. Okay? Just because they may have to be a wider for the ditches. And the truth of it is, if it's a 12 count line, cut-in service might be down for a couple hours till we get past that point, and then 20 minutes and I have it up and running.
So I guess that would be my question: is if we had to go under your line and cut it at the municipality, you guys would cover that cost for them? Like if we're
preferably, I wouldn't want to interrupt our service to the houses over here. So preferably, I'd like them to go underneath our line. But lack of a better term, shit happens, right? It's not the end of the world. I can have it up and running quite quickly. Well, it might cause some inconvenience for a customer for 20 minutes, half an hour, or whatever, but it's not the end of the world. So that's always something that is always. I'm constantly dealing with all our ends that we go through, and they have concerns just like yours, and it's a simple conversation. And we work it out there. It's let's face it, if you cut an internet line, it's not there.
So what happens if I live just off Delta Road, I want fiber optics, and say there's 3 people in between me and that's the backbone. I'd say I pay more money to get it, and then eventually those other 3 tap onto it. Would I get a big way back because I paid more?
Absolutely. So what we ask of all the municipalities, and we meet with RMs and them, our sales team. So because we deal in a rural environment, sometimes it's a little more difficult for advertisement to get out there in the rural communities. So we always ask the residents, okay, if you're willing to help us sign up your neighbors or whatever, then we'll give you a Absolutely. We do that on a continuous basis because at the end of the day, we still believe that word of mouth is the best way of advertising, especially amongst a community that everyone knows each other. And usually once people have our service, they're actually doing selling for us in a lot of ways, to be honest, because it is a really good service. Like I said, if you wanted to have a TV as a babysitter, you can keep Netflix on 24/7 and we'll stay right here.
Has any of the municipalities that you've gone to turned down your proposal?
No, not one has turned down. And the majority reason for that is, I would think that not only the councilors in that municipality, a lot of them don't have internet. For example, the RM in Chater, we're bringing them internet. And they've been working fantastic with us, the RM as well, because it's difficult for them to run their office when it's on Netflix. And Donna, when I met with her, you know, when you have 3 computers on an RM office and it's going so slow, it takes forever to do anything. So no, we actually haven't had an RM that's ever turned us down. We have some RMs that ask for certain items, and I'll give you an example. So the Brokenville RM, because they cut their grass on the ditch line very deep down in the bottom of the ditch, they asked us that we don't put up marker posts. And our marker posts are just an RF now sign that basically indicates if there's a line there. So just because it was causing some problems with their knowledge, cutting down the signs. And there again, we don't mind that because we are part of Saskatchewan First Call, Manitoba First Call. So if someone was to go digging in the ditch past 6 inches, that person may be held responsible if they put a locate in, such as an RM, and it happens all the time. We come out and locate, and in a lot of cases, if we have a crew in the area, we just hire that because it's easy for us.
So you fall over the back slope, or where do you?
Absolutely.
You're not moving up towards the shoulder of the road, or?
Absolutely. So you're 100% correct. We put it up on the back slope, 1 meter off property line. So if there's an existing line there, for instance, by law we have to be 1 meter off that existing line. So it's always put on the back slope. Absolutely, absolutely. And we're always a meter away from them or hydro poles.
What speed are you going to be running an upload download?
I'm sorry?
What speed are you going to be running an upload and download? Going to be
100%.
300?
Like
ABS? Yeah.
It's 100% wide open.
What speed?
Let's say speed.
Yeah, what transfer rates?
I don't have that question for you. I don't know. Now, when you refer to transfer rates,
Like maybe bits per second.
Yeah.
Bits per
oh,
second.
okay. I can find that out for you. If that's more of our sales team that does that, I don't have the answer for you. It's really fast. That's all I can tell you. It's 4G, just so you know.
Okay.
It's incredibly fast. So the one thing that I noticed when I got into my house, and I live north in Municipality, so the one thing I noticed, NetSet wasn't working for me because the hills around there, it's bad reception. When you get our internet running in your house, it literally opens up the internet of watching television and different things like that. It's so fast. So, well, I'll give you an example from yesterday. My granddaughter was over, so she was on Netflix. My daughter was downstairs on her computer. My wife was on her social media, because she does social media for the Dodge dealership. And I was on my computer working, and there was no someone. They went crazy. So.
Who are the principals with RF now? Who's the principals owners of the RF now?
Basically, Scott is...
Scott Andrews?
I'm sorry?
Scott Andrews?
Scott Andrews owns RF now. He's a principal owner of it. And then there's some junior owners of it that work in our office that are also senior managers.
Anything further?
I just would like to bring this up to people who have these questions. First of all, our handholds. So if you look at the drawings, you'll see square little marks in there. Those are handholds. Our hand poles are basically plastic boxes, usually 2 feet by 2 feet. Okay, and they are put in the ground. The bottom's open. Okay, so they're put in the ground 2 feet deep and they're flush with the ground with heavy lids on, so snow and hills and all that can travel and doesn't really damage to the wall. And underneath your access roads, your driveways, access roads, so forth like that, we will direction drill underneath there so there's no impact. But we also speak to each customer, just so you know, because we have different methodologies of doing things. And one of them is we plow through driveways, one is we direction drill underneath driveways. So when we do plow through driveways, we actually compact the driveway and put it back to where it was. So there's no settling, so over a year you won't notice that 1 inch, 2 inch depression in your ground. We eliminate that. And so we leave it up to the individual customers of how that method.
We mark the boxes.
I'm sorry?
We mark the boxes at the ground level.
Yes, we put, basically with each handle that goes in the ground, we put a marker close beside it. Just like that.
We get one for MPS this winter and we'll leave the snow fall like that. On mine was not easy, but it wasn't marked, so I tore the top off and it was very great snow. So marked with
No, and we'll run into situations like that, right? I don't think we can hold anyone accountable if we're not eliminating our infrastructure.
And when you're plowing, reclaiming all the ditches and everything.
Absolutely. The ground disturbance is incredibly minimal. So with the directional drill, of course, you won't really see anything except the conduit sticking out. With our plow shears are basically 2 inches wide. And by law, we have to countersink our fiber optics at 3 feet deep. Because it's such a narrow trench that in about 6 weeks, you don't even know it's there. And right after we're done, the only thing that you might see is a thin line. And as soon as the first rain comes, you don't even know what's going down there. The only way that you're going to tell that we were there is where we actually excavate for a handhole and backfill around the soft ground. Absolutely. So the impact, and most people, unless you see an RF now sign, they don't even know the fibers.
In regards to the transfer rate, I've just looked up on your website, and it does say 1 gigabyte per second for upload and download transfer rate, so that's pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not an internet guy with kids.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Eric.
Okay, may I ask when?
We're going to deal with it pretty short.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, first off, be it resolved that the presentation by Eric Bellman, Project Manager for RF Now Incorporated, with respect to fiber optic installation be received. Now, somebody please move that. Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor Hargraves. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so be it resolved that further to the approval in principle being granted at the January 15, 2019 meeting of council, the right-of-ways application for fiber optic installation is outlined in the correspondence of RF Now Incorporated dated January 31st, 2019 from number 10 Highway and Road 54 North going east and west be approved. Would somebody please move that? Councilor McGregor, seconder. Councilor Soya. Discussion? All in favor?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will be in touch.
Okay.
Before we get here, next one more time.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay, Joni, you have correspondence?
I do, Your Worship. Under communications, we have information from the Association of Manitoba Municipalities with respect to their trading company benefits, a news bulletin from the association dated January the 24th, a member advisory dated January the 28th with respect to the K-12 education review, A member advisory speaking about the 1/3 tax exemption article that had been written in the Winnipeg Free Press. Information related to governance training for elected officials. A member advisory dated February the 12th with respect to MPI reimbursement rates for firefighting. There is an invitation from Enbridge to go out on some tours. I'm aware that our head of council would like to go on a tour, so if anybody else would be interested, if you could let the office know, then we could pass that information on to Enbridge. They haven't determined any dates as of yet, but I think they want to know interest first. There are communiques from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities dated January 14th, 16th, 17th, 21st, 28th, February 4th, and February the 11th. And now you have to let me catch up. There is information from Manitoba Municipal Relations with respect to an increase in subdivision application fees. There are two pieces of information from the Municipality of Glenborough South Cyprus. One is related to a zoning amendment and one is related to a variation application. There is information from the Rapid City Memorials on the Veterans Affairs Canada Cemetery Maintenance Program. There is information from the Rural Policy Learning Commons dated February of 2019, and there are a couple in this session that actually pertain more to rural municipalities and sustainability, so it's something, if people have time, they may want to look into. Census Partnership for Chartered Professional Accountants provided us information that they do payroll services. The Southwest Horizon School Division gave us notification of their AGM, which has already happened, and this information had been provided to council in advance. We have information from Tree Canada for funding for planting trees, and we've sent those off to various organizations and put it on our website as well. Veteran Family Program invitation out at the Shiloh Military Family Resource Center. They're doing an information fair. And once again, we have information from Waste Management advising us of recycling contamination. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Be it resolved that the above noted communications be received. If somebody please move that. Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor McGregor. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I had previously asked Jody, but I'll just ask again just to make sure it's reported that the FCM grant, I think there's interest from the RIC in looking at that. So if we could make sure the RIC Commission gets that information. The Enbridge tour I would be interested in as well.
Okay.
And then
don't have a pen. Can you write this down?
In the February 11th correspondence from FCM, there is a link to council governance online training. It's 2 40-minute sessions, and I wouldn't mind having that forwarded out to council. I'd be interested in having a look at those. If we get the actual link, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further? Call for vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, committee reports. Councillor Thal, you have a written report. Anything to add to it?
Just other than the fire that was at the Oakland waste transfer site.
Okay. Councillor Suyak, you have a written report. Anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Councillor Hargraves, you have a written report. Anything to add to it? Okay. Councillor Rome, you have a written report. Anything to add to your report?
No, I don't.
Councillor McDonald, a written report. Do you have anything to add to it? Okay. Councillor McGregor, you have nothing to add? Okay. My report is on file. CAO's report. Anything to add?
Nothing to add?
Finance officer?
No.
Nothing to add? Public Works? Darcy, nothing to add to it?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Drew's not here. He's dealing with a severe water leak.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Chairman, can I just maybe Drew's concern, he expressed to me against money with the water shortage and stuff, so with the water weekend shortage and open any edge of the already as we put. His concern with the water as a resident, for us all, I'm sure he's.
Well, maybe what I'll just touch on that is that as of yesterday, it's 18,000 gallons a day going down into the ground somewhere. So usage has gone severely up. He's had them out today to listen to see if we can find that leak. There obviously must be a water main break. And with our soil we have, it goes down rather than up. So we have a very hard time determining it. But they'll find it today and get that corrected, I'm sure. But it's just kind of what's going to happen with the weather we've had, and then if it starts warming up, we know what's going to happen again. So he's on top of it. He's concerned with the low levels of the wells, and I understand that. We want to get that other well online. That's been dragging far longer than I would like to see it, but at the same time, we're at the mercy of water services right now, and hopefully that gets done sooner than later. If you're hearing of white water coming out of the taps in Wawanesa, that is just air because of the amount of air getting into the lines with the low levels of the wells, etc. The reservoir is keeping up, but it's going to be some white water possibility. So if you hear that, that's what it's about.
Mr. Chair, have we received any information back from the Water Services Board regarding the permits appropriate?
Your Worship, they have finalized the tender. That was part of the holdup because they were needing to get some information on an appropriate pump and how it would be connected. The other thing that they are waiting on us for is to ensure that we have got all of the approvals in place for the private property that we need to directional drill. Last I heard, Darcy has been attempting to get a hold of people. There's a couple that we haven't had a ton of success, whether it's a case that they are away and not responding to any phone calls or notes that we've dropped at the doors. We will keep trying because, of course, we can't go ahead until we know that we've got those approvals. At the time that we initially started doing this, I believe Darcy had been able to touch base with everybody at that point and kind of had verbally let them know what was going on, but we do need something from them in writing that will allow us to proceed. I've got to call into the solicitor and asked her if she could get the draft rights-of-way agreement drawn up for us, and we would provide the ownership names and the legal descriptions to specify for each property. So I don't think doing that part is going to take long once we know for a fact that we've been able to reach the couple of people that we haven't yet been able to get a hold of. And I don't imagine that anybody is going to refuse it when they know that we're low on water and it's a directional drill. It's not that we're digging up their backyards, but it's part of the process that they want that in writing. So,
do you know, Darcy, offhand, who hasn't been in contact, who we're waiting for?
Not off the top of my head, but
okay.
There's approximately 4 or 5.
Can you make that available?
I don't know if it's a case that they were during the day and called in during the day.
Can you make that available to the town councilors? Maybe they can get a hold of them as well. And this is getting too late. Like this should have been done so long ago that we shouldn't be in this situation. But maybe make it available to the town councilors so they can be able to see these individuals.
Mr. Chairman, that was my concern. I was just going to bring up. I think the thing is hopefully, one way or another, we can get a hold of whether they're away or not. Somebody will know that way to get a hold of them.
Right. Yeah.
That's, I would definitely be all for that.
Okay. All right, Fire Chief's report. The Legislative and Finance Committee report is on file. The Shop Building Feasibility Ad Hoc Committee is on file. Souris River Vet Board, Councillor Rowe.
Really not a whole lot to report. They did have some closures of which they notified the municipality and the location.
Okay. Handy Transit, Councillor McDonald, anything further to add to that?
Mr. Chairman, we had a meeting, had a supper with our drivers and board members last week, and we just had our budget meeting and stuff, so that's where it is. So basically,
okay. All right. Be it resolved that the verbal and written committee reports be received. Somebody please move that. Councilor Harger, seconder, Councilor McGregor. I have a question on the ad hoc building committee. There's not much there. Can you give us a little update as to where you're at?
We met on the 30th of January. Darcy provided us a few scenarios of shop designs, and we talked about an office design. I feel we need to have another meeting to go through some things, and then I would like to see us, especially for the office, I think we need staff input and everybody's input to see, design and where we go from there.
Size-wise too?
Yeah, we kind of sort of come up with a size, but I mean, we need to, and look at all options too. So.
One of the things that I thought I just mentioned, I was talking to the mutual people, that office is going to be open next month. Is that right?
Should be the end of this month.
End of the month.
Latest, next month for sure.
That is 3,500 square feet. It has 2 bathrooms, kitchen, reception area, and they're putting 35 staff in. So they're using less than 100 square feet per staff member. So that's something to keep in mind. If they can do it.
Our big concern is probably how big the council chambers needs to be.
Right.
We've kind of sort of come up with a measurement, but
Yeah, I think like this year.
we were thinking, a few feet behind you guys to this and this line is
Up to that wall?
yeah, it's probably pretty big, but that was a rough measurement. But there's lots more to go yet.
Councilor McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, a couple things there. I have a concern now after our meeting in East, we're using the village or one resident on that ad hoc committee. Another one is I haven't heard anything about looking into renovating Nolan's office, and that's one thing I think for cost-wise for our residents and the services in the village opposed to out here, greatly should be looked at. I haven't heard anything about that part of it. I just wondered if
There was a quote provided to us, so when we get other quotes provided, then
that makes sense.
we'll look at everything in the council together.
I just haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, the preliminary quote that we received to renovate the existing structure in Wawanesa, just through a rough review of the document itself, showed that the restructuring of that building would actually cost more than it would to actually build one from scratch. So looking at different case scenarios, locations, we just don't have enough information provided yet to make any sound decisions.
So are you looking at getting building firms to get you quotes, or is that something that you're looking at, or are you just leaving?
We'd have to meet again.
Yeah, we need one more meeting. One meeting's not like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darcy's looking into getting us some quotes on buildings, permits, safety cautions as far as restructuring the existing shop, adding on to it. So there's definitely a lot more background work that needs to be done before anything can be brought to the board regarding any decisions or scenarios.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and we do have a reconsideration, so you can address the membership of the committee then, I would say. And I don't disagree with you. And then I think, we need to as a council decide what a new office would look like, and for sure that starts at committee level. But I think before they would go out looking for much for quotes on new buildings, we should have council direction on what a new building looks like.
I'm just thinking accurate numbers. You're looking at 2 different options of reconstruction or new construction to renovation, and ultimately that has to have a number to it before you can really give it any consideration.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's a 2-step process,
yes.
Right? I think there's an initial step of this is what council thinks a new building looks like, this is what council thinks a renovated building looks like, and then a secondary step of let's break some of those options. So
Right now, Darcy, from my understanding, was in the process of getting engineers' quotes to review existing structures, to see what can be completed, what would have to be done regarding safety precautions. And from there, like I said, right now, all we have at this point is quotes from engineers just to do the inspections at this point.
And the only reason I'm getting into this is that I think it's of severe importance that we start working on this sooner than later, sort of thing. I don't want it to drag out. We've had an ad hoc committee on now for
A couple of years.
2 years, and really been spinning our wheels. So just to keep you advised of that, that's fine.
I'd like to commend that Darcy is doing a good job of getting us the quotes regarding the quotes from the engineers for the next process. And he has actually done a really good job too of providing us with different blueprints, just rough sketches as to building size, dimensions, and so forth.
Yeah, I had written down a question just on the engineers. Where are we going with that? I know there were some emails back and forth. Have we engaged our engineers?
Speak to that, or about the structural review? Well, like the one idea was to add on 2 bays to the existing shop, and we needed a structural review, non-review. Yeah. Have we done anything with that? Or?
No, well, we got the 3 quotes from the engineers, and it's council decide there's something on there. Received.
Looking at the 3 quotes that Darcy received, I was surprised at the difference in pricing between the 3 quotes. There's a substantial dollar amount difference between the 3 quotes from the engineers. So I don't know if cheap is best, or one of them was quite drafted out as in detail as to what they would provide us for structural review recommendations. Actually, 2 of them I think were quite in depth, and then the third one was a little bit more vague, not as fine-tuned as the other 2, but not discrediting any of those engineering companies by any means. But there was some substantial cost just in the engineering of those documents and inspections of the buildings that were, to me, disconcerting. Like I said, is most expensive best, or go the cheapest route? That I don't know. Based on myself having limited experience with building construction.
I don't know if this is where we get into this conversation.
Yeah.
So we need water. I have a really tough time thinking we need a shop. We do not have a mechanic on staff.
Okay, and I think that's part of your committee. I just would the committee report back.
So that's what I where we should go with that.
Can we get some direction on the engineer, or give direction on? I feel like I don't believe I've seen that quote. So did that just
it was under Darcy's. In the big scheme of things, I think the office is far more than the shop. Shop is heated storage, right? You put your machine in there at night, take it out in the morning. Yes, it's crowded, but it's working. So, and like I said, our committee has only met once to try to hash out something that's got to be how many years in the future in one meeting, and to feel pressured because, like you say, you've had 2 years of this, but we've only had 4 months.
That's right.
So yeah, don't make it feel that we're pressured to do this. We want to do it right. We want to do it once.
No, I understand, and I agree. I understand where you're coming from. You haven't had a lot of time, but I guess what I'm trying to impress upon is that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Go ahead.
Just to add to that, I think that this committee really just was appointed a couple of months. We've had 1 meeting. The ideas were put out there, and I think that our meeting probably can come back with some recommendations. I don't think that the committee can go any further with recommendations with the resolutions from council.
Well, I understand that there's no resolution going to be had, but in one hand, you're telling me that the shop is not important, but the office is, but you need more time to decide. I understand that. I agree that we put in the time, but I think you have to address it in a different perspective then. You're going to have a shop. What is the lifeline of that shop? Okay, you're saying that it doesn't have to be replaced now. I'd like to know when it should be replaced, or because everything has a best. Everything has a best.
I think we can address that in the process. If you just give us a little time, I don't think this is a process that should be rushed. There's too much money involved to try and just make recommendations after one meeting.
I'm not asking for a recommendation, Councillor Rome. I'm just saying to you that I'm suggesting that we need to get moving on this sooner than later. That's what I'm saying. So that's where it's coming from. So, Councillor McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, but if the ad hoc committee figures they need to meet once a week for a month or two or whatever meetings it takes, there's no stipulation on how many times they can meet as they see needed and it works for you.
Well, I'm confident in the ad hoc committee that they know what they have to do. I'm just suggesting that I'm looking at different timelines and I'm reading into from the committee report and some emails I'm getting that the shop is not important. And I agree that there's maybe not there's not a mechanic on duty, but I think there's still a lot of work done in that shop. That these people are working within the confines of what that shop has to offer. So that's something that should be addressed. Just to, I guess, say is not needed. I think it's just wrong. I think we should look at it as the full context of what it does, where it's going to, and at that point. But I'll leave it with the ad hoc committee from that point. They know some of the councillors' concerns, and we'll go on.
I think part of it too, Mr. Chair, was that once a decision was made on what engineering company to review the conditions of the existing buildings, then there could possibly be recommendations at that point as to whether another bay could be added on, if there was anything structural that had to be done, safety concerns regarding the asbestos in the building, those sort of things. So there wasn't, definitely decisions had to be made which direction we were going to go with an engineering company first, doing some sort of study to determine what's the best case scenario.
Mr. Chair, it wasn't that the shop isn't important. Is it important right now?
Right.
So, that was...
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. If that's the course that the council decides, that's fine and dandy. But as I say, everything has a best before date, and just want to make sure we're dealing with it. Okay.
Sorry, and I wasn't trying to pressure or rush the process either. If there's quotes from an engineer, my question was, are we at the point where we should just decide, or are we leaving this for another month or a little bit more than a month till our next meeting?
The engineer is for whether or not we build onto the shop, not the office. Because it'll be if it goes ahead, it'll be a totally different building. So we really don't have to do anything with any engineering at this point in time unless we decide that the shop is the next step.
Okay, so thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think we need one more meeting. We can have it in the next week or so.
I'm not saying you have to have a meeting once every 2 days. I'm just suggesting that let's not lose focus on that. So if it's once next month, that's fine. We'll hear from your next report. Okay, that's for the reports. All in favor?
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
We had an item last month that we tabled because Drew is not around. Do we have any more information? I don't see it on the agenda, and I know Drew's not here today, but there was a request for compensation from a ratepayer on 5th Street, I believe it was, for water damage.
Because I was going to the insurance company.
The insurance company has been informed of the damage. They are working with the property owner. We'll wait until we hear back from the insurance company before anything comes forward to council as to whether or not there's a recommendation to reimburse for damages.
Okay.
Just one other thing. Councillor McDonald, you brought up that it wasn't any village councillors on the ad-hoc committee. You were all here when we were doing when everybody was appointed to it, so anybody at any point in time could have stepped up.
So,
Yeah,
We've got a reconsideration.
and that'll be dealt with. Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry,
Okay,
last
Councilor
question.
McGregor?
I think it was Darcy's report that indicated there was a price on a backup pump for the water system. We had a power outage that the water was out for about 6 hours. Is that something that we could hear more about, or are we going to go forward with that?
Did Darcy have?
I think it was in Darcy's report. Was it? Or maybe it was just in Drew's report that
Maybe.
maybe given the
It was in Drew's, I believe. I didn't see it. Oh, he has a price on a new backup pump for powers that'll pass on to Darcy. We haven't got that yet, so. And that has to replace that old motor that was in the treatment. It has never been started, or has, if it has, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait for that. Darcy, did you get a copy of that?
No.
Nothing yet, eh?
And I've got a question as well regarding the municipal well here at the Trees Bank. There's been issues reported over the last couple of weeks from residents regarding that well. Any updates on that?
they should be there this morning, the electricians, to fix the pendant control on it, and if need be, they might just replace it altogether.
And that's the Hayfield?
Trees Bank.
The treatment.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing further? Okay, call for vote. All in favor? Approved. Okay, unfinished business. We have the motion to censure. Be it resolved that Councillor Rome be censured for breaching the principles under the Council Code of Conduct. This was tabled at the last meeting.
It was.
As Councillor Rome is not available. I'll maybe just review that. Councillor McGregor, you were the one that initiated that motion.
Right. I feel like we need to come up with a better solution for Dennis here.
Yeah, this is not.
Even if it's just for this
Don't turn that for so you can
motion,
hear.
like,
Yeah, we'll just have to turn
if you
back.
can't hear the discussion, then this is going to be a little bit.
I'll go over to this. So go ahead, Councillor McGregor.
Do we want to try phone for this part even? Can you hear?
Councillor Rome, can you hear with it turned this way? Can you hear Councillor McGregor?
No, I can't hear it. Go ahead.
Would you like Councillor McGregor to phone you so that you've got this on your phone to be able to hear it?
No, that's fine. I think I know the gist of what he's putting forward. If you could just turn it back to the head table.
Well, I think you should be hearing it from what the people that put the motion forward.
You could certainly move into the center if we needed to for this.
Is this
Turn.
okay? Or you want me to go
Can
on
you
that?
hear Councillor McGregor there? Okay.
He'll go around.
Whoops.
Oh, what's going to be good?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so I am going to just reread what I said at the...
That's really no better, John.
Is this better?
That's it.
I'm going to reread what I said at the start of the meeting in January. So, over the past week, Councillor Rome has chosen to communicate to ratepayers through his Facebook page that I referred to rural residents unhappy with taxation as quote-unquote loudmouths in our January 7th Finance Committee meeting. He has communicated this at least 3 times on his Facebook site since that meeting. The video of our meeting has been reviewed, and I did not use the word loudmouth, and in fact did not use the word rural in my discussion. I also asked Councillor Rome not to twist my words, but to hear what I was saying because I wasn't referring to all rural residents. When it was brought to his attention by another councillor that I did not say that, he posted a message on Facebook that he may have misunderstood my comment, but then still called for me to apologize to rural residents for my reference to them. To my knowledge, he has made no attempt to verify what I said, so he can quickly correct his mistake, choosing instead to let those words hang out in the public domain for as long as possible, causing much more damage than would otherwise have occurred if he made a quick full retraction. I clearly stated to Councillor Rome during our meeting that I was not referring to all rural residents, and I never the word loudmouth. He still chose to leave that meeting and post my comments inaccurately, despite me making it painfully clear that I was not referring to all rural residents. Choosing to characterize my comments like he did appears to me to be an attempt to inflame residents and build distrust of certain councillors. I believe I'm not the only councillor or staff person that has been affected by this type of behavior over the course of our term so far. This type of behavior has a significant detrimental effect on other councillors and our staff, both personally and professionally. The Oakland-Wawanesa Code of Conduct states under principles, quote, members of the Council of the Municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa are expected to conduct themselves in such a way as to promote public trust and public confidence in the council and the municipality. Communicating the opinions of another councillor in a way that is inaccurate or doesn't provide proper context does not promote public trust or public confidence in council. If Councillor Rome would stick to communicating his own opinion only, rather than his perception of the opinions of other councillors, we wouldn't have issues where ratepayers are misinformed, missing important details, or don't understand the context of the discussion. It's an unnecessary practice and should have no place in our municipal politics. I am not prepared to pretend this type of behavior is acceptable for the next 4 years, and I would suggest a motion censure be brought forward any time in the future that this type of behavior is displayed. So those were my comments at the start, and I would just add that since that meeting in January, I have fielded a phone call from a rural resident, very angry at me for calling rural people loudmouths, which I did not. I have been made aware of an email circulating encouraging people to not patronize my business because I referred to rural people as loudmouths. Councillor Rome was included on that email and, to my knowledge, has not corrected the record even on that email chain, requesting that people stop patronizing my business. So these actions have consequences and they have impacts. And just because we disagree does not mean that you should try to destroy someone's reputation or their livelihood. That's my starting point.
Thank you. That motion was seconded by
Councillor McDonald.
Councillor McDonald. Councillor Soyak, you had a follow-up to that you verified the information that Councillor McGregor provided?
Yes, I did. I had contacted Councillor Rome that day to confirm that, those were not the words that Councillor McGregor had used in any way, shape, or form. So whether Councillor Rome misconstrued, misheard, I don't want to go down that path to rehash what he thought he heard, but I did correct him in stating that that's not what was said. And again, part of my discussion last month was that I myself find that I'm holding back regarding sharing of information and ideas in fear of it being brought to the public and having a twist or a turn put on it where not all facts have been provided or details or information in the setting in which the information was provided, that I feel that it's inhibiting our sharing of information around an open table for open discussion. I would like to feel that we support one another at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not we agree with someone, that for the greater good of the municipality and of council, that if there's a decision made that we support it at the end of the day. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's been said, done, or happened, but walking out the door, I'm encouraged to support the decisions that are made, and it's a vote. We all get our time, and we all get a chance to say what we need to. And if I don't agree with someone, I'm not going to walk out the door and disparage them and possibly destroy their business or what have you. I mean, to me, that's not what we're here for. And I respect each person that's on this council and the decisions that they have, and I'd like to see that we all do that as well, that we respect each other, and regardless of whether we agree with someone or disagree with someone, at the end of the day, we have to move forward as one, as a group.
Councillor Rome, did you want to reply to this notice of motion? Or this motion, rather? Councillor Rome, did you wish to reply to the motion of censure?
I'm not sure whether you're asking me for comment. I can't, I'm only hearing bits and pieces.
Well, you heard all of Councillor McGregor's information.
Could you, Joni, could you turn it back around to the head table, please?
Councillor McGregor presented his in front of this mic, so you must have heard his, the motion he brought forward under the grounds.
Yes, and I had read it previously from the January meeting. I did correct my comment on Facebook when I viewed the video and saw that there were few loud people. I do believe that the comments were directed towards rural residents, for a few rural residents. I still believe they're out of line and misplaced. The email that was circulated, I thought it had nothing to do with me, although I do see that it could have been, it could have come forward through the Facebook communication. I thought I had put that in the Facebook message that I put up. But, you know, certainly it's in the hands of council. The council members have to deal with that. The way that people is proper.
Councillor McDonald?
Mr. Chair, I have a concern. A little different than censuring, but also the emails that Mr. Rome was sending on the weekend to our CAO. I really have a hard time with it, and like I said earlier in a previous meeting, I think the CEO should be paid premium time or public works department if they are getting emails that if it's important.
We're just going to call a point of order here, Councillor.
Okay.
No, that's not what we're dealing with here.
Okay.
We're dealing with the censure motion. We can listen to that a little further up there.
Okay.
So
just
okay. Go ahead.
I think in recent days, we've seen another action part of council in a similar manner to a resident. So I think we need to be very careful how we deal with
Councillor Rome, I'm going to call you on that on a point of order. That's not what we're referring to. This motion is before the council on the censure. So we can deal with that on a different resolution if you wish down the road and to the new business. But we're dealing with the censure motion, so we'll keep our context of that. Have anything further on the censure motion? Councillor McGregor?
Just one more comment. It's been well over a month, and Councillor Rome has not apologized to me directly for this. He hasn't even apologized, in my opinion, but anything that he posted that is even close to an apology is on a Facebook site that he has blocked me from. So, to me, when you've had well over a month to recognize that what you did, that you are misquoting someone so badly, and to not actually address it with the person directly is very disappointing.
It's going to be very difficult to get that into this. So I would suggest, Councillor Rome, that you review the tape to hear some of these other points made, because it's very difficult with this system we have. Anything further? If not, I will call for a vote on the censure motion. In order to pass, we need a majority plus one. So just so everybody knows that. So all in favor of the censure motion?
And it is a recorded vote.
Hold on.
It'll be a recorded vote, so there's 5 votes for, opposed, 2 opposed, so censure motion carries. Councillor Rome, just to advise you that the provincial government is now looking at penalties for code of conduct violations. Once that goes through legislation, this council will look at it as to any penalties to be applied.
I would suggest that that would be for subsequent violations. I don't think you can look backward on these things.
We will deal with it as a council. Okay, moving on. Committee appointments. Whereas notice of motion was given at the last regular meeting of council by Councillors Hargraves and Soliak that they intended to request a reconsideration of a previous motion with respect to the above. Therefore, be it resolved that motion number 354-18 regarding committee appointments be reconsidered. Can somebody please move that? Councillor Hargraves, seconder. Councillor McGregor. All in favor of the reconsideration motion? Councillor Rowan, opposed?
No, I'm not opposed. I was waiting for discussion.
Oh, did you wish to discuss it?
Well, you never asked it, so that's what I was waiting for.
Okay. If you want to go ahead, I will have the discussion if you wish to present something. Go forward.
No, I was just waiting to see if it was going to.
Well, the motion's back on the floor. So, the previous motion.
Would you like me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, as I understand it, then the motion to reconsider has carried, so that puts the original motion back on the floor. The original motion showed membership in various different committees. What I have included on the agenda is what I believe would be the recommendations that Councillor Hargraves and Councillor Soliak would like to see take place. And that would be that motion 354 be amended by deleting the names of Councillor Hargraves on the Personnel and Policy Committee and replacing same with Councillor Soliak. I believe that was the intent of one portion of the reconsideration. If that's the case, if you would ask for a mover and seconder on that.
Can we get a mover on that? Somebody move that?
Probably.
Councillor Powell, second by Councillor Hargraves. Discussion? Councillor Powell?
Councillor Soliak, you did a wonderful job on starting on the building committee, and you did put good input into it. But you've also made it clear that your personnel policy is more of your
that's my forte.
What you want to do rather than that. And yes, but yet I want you to feel that you did do. Yeah, you wonderful notes. Trust me.
My personal forte is definitely in regards to the Personnel and Policy Committee. I think that's one of my strengths that I definitely have. Being out in the work industry for the last 12 years old, and we're not going to date myself, but worked in various businesses and whatnot, been involved with business protocol, personnel policies and such. My input in regards to the building committee, that's definitely not my forte. I would feel like, to me, some of the questions that I was asking, the men in the room, the counselors were great. I just was trying to wrap my head around some of the questions, and felt that the gentlemen in the room were definitely more skilled in that area. And not to say that I would feel I was pulling them back, but it might have been more of a tedious process regarding the situation in the ad hoc building review. That, like I said, my strengths definitely are the Personnel and Policy Committee.
Okay. Anything further on that?
Is this for all committee ones or just?
This is one at a time.
Okay.
Do one at a time. Okay. So this is to change Councillor Hargraves off, deleting Councillor Hargraves off, and adding Councillor Soliak onto the Personnel and Policy Committee. I'll call for vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Be it resolved that motion number 354-18 be amended by deleting the names of Councillor Soliak from the Building Shop Feasibility Ad Hoc Committee. Would somebody please move that? Councillor Soliak, seconder. Councillor Powell. Discussion? If you wanted to make an amendment here, Councillor Novell, you made a note earlier about people on, or the construction of it? Did you wish to make a,
I was just gonna, just about, shop building, feasibility, can we add one more person, like say?
it'd have to be an amendment to this motion, so you have to ask for that?
Could I ask for an amendment to this motion?
What's your amendment?
I would just like to add one more person to, just to the ad hoc committee for the shop building, and I would like, let's see, Brad, the board of resident added on to that also, so we don't.
You'd have to make a name then.
Brad.
I personally think you might have more input.
I'm good with it, I just didn't,
I can certainly.
If we make a friendly amendment to this, that Councillor McDonald added on to it, does that be?
I've got it noted as an amendment. If we had a seconder, then we would just.
Okay, the seconder then, Councillor McCary. Okay, anything further?
I'd just like to add to that.
What was the amendment?
Amendment to be to remove Councillor Sowiak from the ad hoc committee and add Councillor McDonald.
I'd just like to add to that, that part of the reason that I was removing myself from that committee was just to keep in balance with the number of committees that I would be participating on, not to take on additional responsibility with the personnel and policy. I just wanted to make sure that, keeping with what we had originally, that there was, I was on 3 committees and that I am still on 3 committees, and not to overstep or take on more than what I could commit to.
Understand. Councillor McDonald?
Mr. Chairman, just, so if I understand it, with the ad hoc for the building, so it'll still be Councillor Fall, Hargraves, Rome, and would be myself.
That's right.
Before. Yep.
Councillor McGregor?
Mr. Chairman, I could certainly have input on an office building. I've got a lot of experience with that, but my knowledge of the shop is basically zero. So that's where I think if there's an initial discussion about shop and whether we need a shop, that's not where I'm going to add value. So I think I can come in after with some of the office stuff, but to me, having Bob in place for that initial discussion makes more sense. I also wonder, I don't know, can we do this, but can we change the name of this committee to just the building feasibility rather than the shop? There's question of whether we even need a shop, and we're calling this committee the shop building committee. So maybe, can we change that? I don't know.
Yeah, let's do the motion here, to the resolution. So it'd be to amend it to be the building feasibility committee? Or
Okay,
building ad hoc?
Could we vote first on the amendment to add Councillor
Oh,
McDonald, and then go back to the main motion, which would be to remove
So-
Councillor Sowiak, and then go on to a name change?
Sure.
Okay.
So vote on adding Councillor McDonald to the committee. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, that was carried.
Then the main motion as amended, which would be to remove the name of Councillor Sowiak, and we would have Councillor McDonald on instead.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so now,
Now an amendment to rename the ad hoc committee.
right. To just building ad hoc committee? Or,
Okay, to building ad hoc committee. If someone would like to move that then.
Councillor Fowle, seconder. Councillor Hargraves. Discussion on that? If not, call vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
Sorry, Dave, or sorry, Mr. Chair, can I vote for one more?
Sure, we're still in that
Reconsideration.
reconsideration. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like it would make more sense to have Councillor Fowle on the vet board. Is that?
Is what?
You would make more sense to me on the vet board. Is there any thought that maybe you would like to be on that committee?
I'm basically the only one with animals, but everybody has a pet. So, right? And that would put me on 1, 2, 3, 4. That would put me on 5 committees.
Yeah, so if you don't
But
want to,
the
that's
fact
fine.
that it's actually, you get a good breakfast at the deal. So that's entirely if
Councillor Rome, the subject came up to changing the vet board to Councillor Fowle because of his involvement with animals on his farm. Have you any comments to that?
I have no problem with that either way, whatever Barry wants to do.
So,
yeah, I'm fine with it.
so you want to put a motion forward then? Amendment to remove Councillor.
Sorry, this isn't my laptop. It takes me longer playing with it.
So remove Councillor Rome from Sewers Vet Board and replace with Councillor Fowle.
I'm a mover, but I don't have a
Okay,
seconder.
we have a
yet.
seconder, Councillor Hargraves. Discussion? Not a call vote, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, so that,
You want me to tackle this one?
oh, sure, okay.
Okay, the next item that was up for reconsideration is the water survey. This has been reconsidered, well, considered and reconsidered once last year, and has been considered and is now up for reconsideration in this term. You can only do a reconsideration once within a term, and it will require a 2/3 majority vote. So what this first motion would be is to see whether or not the reconsideration is going to carry. And then if that is carried by a 2/3 majority, then we would actually get back into the main motion, which outlines what the questions are.
So, okay, whereas notice of motion was given at the last regular meeting by Councillor Rome that he intended to request a reconsideration of the previous motion with respect to the above, therefore be it resolved that motion number 14-18 regarding the water survey be reconsidered. Councillor Rome, did you wish to move that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Fowle, discussion,
So if I could,
go ahead.
it was really only a friendly amendment to add some clarity to the survey. I think our original two questions were quite ambiguous and really weren't going to give council the direction that we needed to move forward. To add the question, do you require an additional water source with cost to be determined based on participation, actually adds a question that's objective. As I said earlier, I requested it just simply with a friendly amendment to that big clarity.
Okay, on the basis of that, I wouldn't call that a friendly amendment due to the construction of it and the context of it.
Your Worship, the only reason I put it back on as a reconsideration is because it was passed at a previous council meeting, the opportunity to, as we call it, friendly amend doesn't happen because those minutes have all been adopted. That's why I put it forward as a reconsideration motion.
Okay, Councillor.
This last question does give some more clarity to it. There was really no point in sending out, in my opinion anyway, that's just mine, that we have water quality or quantity issues, but we still got to know whether or not you want water. So in that, to me, the third question kind of clarifies all of that.
Well, first we have to deal with the notice of motion and whether it can move forward. Can't deal with that item. Councillor McGregor?
Yeah, my opinion is, and I understand that this isn't maybe the place for it, but I'm going to say it now anyway. My opinion is that we spent a tremendous amount of time on this in the December meeting, and we were very purposeful with designing the questions in a way that council wasn't trying to make a decision outside of our expertise. You've got a question here that, again, how does a person answer that if they don't know what the cost is? And there attempts to put out costs by certain members of council, and we're just going down this path of misinforming people to try to kill something that we disagree with. So I will be voting against this motion.
Are we on this discussion still?
Yeah, go ahead.
Looking at that, how would you determine if somebody sent you those two? Whether it was both yeses or both nos? Do you have quality issues and quantity issues? How would you determine whether or not that person actually wanted water?
Well, it goes towards, do you have a water quantity issue? Yes or no? And then it lets us go towards a study. It has to be nothing to do with whether we're paying, the residents paying for it, it's whether we want to go do a study or not, is what this is. It's not saying that we want water, it's to do the study.
Right.
Two different things.
I'd still like to go, how would you determine whether that person wanted water?
Mr. Chairman, we were very purposeful about that in December, and we decided that 50 yes votes would be what we put as the measure of whether we proceeded or not.
Okay, so as stated, because it's the second time in the term, that we will have to have 2/3, which can be require 5 votes to go forward with this notice of motion. So if we can, want to do it as a recorded vote again?
Let me just get down here. Is somebody requesting that it be a recorded vote? Councillor McDonald?
All in favor of the reconsider, oh, sorry.
Okay, so we're just reconsidering opening this back up.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
That's all we're doing.
I'll understand.
Okay. All in favor of the reconsideration motion?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Defeated. Okay, so we're down to bylaws now?
Yeah, now I have to find where yes.
Mr. Chairman, can we get confirmation that this survey will go out
Okay.
ASAP?
Your Worship, what I have provided to you, sitting beside Councillor Fowle, through our office, we have done up a customer report. As I understood the original motion, it was that it was going, if somebody owns more than one property, it is going to them once. So what we've done is done up a customer report and removed any duplications. The one question I do have for council is we do have numbered companies or corporations that we know also have individual ratepayers that are associated with them. So for instance, Brett, if I could use you, you show up on this list as Brett Hargraves, but you also have Harwest and Hargraves Farms. Am I sending it out to the corporations, or when we know that it is associated with a name, is it only going to the name group? Because that helps us determine how many stamps we're having to buy for return postage, etc.
Okay, so do you want a resolution?
Well, what the resolution says is that rural residents, or that the survey be sent to all ratepayers of wards 2 and 3. I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm not misinterpreting what council was wanting when it came to ratepayers.
I think you have to send it to everybody, including the other counties, to be consistent.
That's what I think too.
I'm not sure why you'd have to do that. The numbered company may exist outside the county, really have land in the, but it's the residents, and in this example, it would be Brad Hargraves, the resident, who would say whether he wanted or required water.
But there could be a situation where you have a company that's going to sell that land, and they're going to think it's going to be more feasible to sell it if it's got water going to it.
No, like what happens is like Hargrave's Farms owns property, other houses too, like I guess is.
Well, and this was part of the discussion. I believe when the original question came forward is it was going to you once. Of course, the question was at that point it arrives in your mailbox, and if you and Haley happen to be of differing opinions, whoever gets to the survey first is filling it out. But that will be no different than when you actually go to do a survey or whatever as to whether or not somebody wants or doesn't want the water. It's going to have to be a consensus within the family unit. I'm just not sure. I know for a fact, like I said, it was fairly easy where it was just individual names where a person owns more than one role. It was easy to remove the duplicate names. There are corporations in here that are only here once. So again, those would go out, but where we ran into difficulty wanting to know our direction is when we know it's tied in with a ratepayer, are we sending it out anyway?
How it's not going to cost us that, but if you only have one corporation, which is only 20 or 30 extra.
Yeah, that's not that many.
Like, I don't think it's.
For a matter of $20 or $30. The other part of that, and one of the things I'm concerned about is that, as an example, Barry McNish has 6 properties he's trying to sell in his subdivision. He would like water to each one of them. So
but he will only receive it.
Get one vote.
He will only get it once. Some of the corporations, for instance, that we have on the list, MTS or Hydro, have property out here.
Yeah. Well, I think you send it all. You know, that's the only way to do it. You can't, you start nitpicking out of you. I mean, you can split hairs all you want. It's just.
And honestly, I want our staff spending as little time on this as possible. I still don't agree with this. I think it's a make-work project that is going to just cost us money.
What you're asking us to do is try and decide who the future residents are going to be. And I mean, that's just buying this.
If they're gonna, if Barry McNish wants to pay for 6 hookups, I think that's a bonus. Okay.
As I'm hearing it right now, if there is duplication of individual names, it is only going out to the individual once. But if it is an individual's name, but there is also a corporate name, it is going to the corporation once. If there are duplications of corporation names, it is still only going to the corporation once.
That's why.
Is that my understanding?
That makes sense to me.
Okay, we will order the stamps, we will revise the list, and we will send it out as quickly as we can. The resolution is that we try to get responses back within 3 weeks of mailing. So what I will do is the information that goes out, anything that's coming back, I've made note on the letter that it is confidential. But for administrative purposes, we have asked if people would include a legal description, because there's no sense repeating work if it ends up that we go down the line of doing a water study. If we have an idea of where there are some clusters of people who might be in need, it would make more sense not to have to resurvey. But like I said, individually what comes into our office will be kept confidential.
So moving on, bylaws we have none. General business is, that's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Be it resolved that Councillor Hargreaves be appointed to the position of weed supervisor effective January 1st, 2019. I have just put the name in.
Oh.
So, got to start somewhere. Well, first let's see if we can move her. We move that. Councillor McGregor, seconder. Councillor Soya. Okay, discussion.
I don't really think that Brett has time to be running around looking at weeds. I know as a farmer, I don't, and I don't believe that he does either. Dennis runs around with his side-by-side and maps all the weeds out, and I don't think there's been a problem with him doing that. So,
okay.
I think Dennis can do it, but I think we need to set out some guidelines of what authority the weed supervisor has, and the responsibility falls on that weed supervisor if it does not happen, and not other people. That's my...
Councillor Rome, any comments?
I couldn't hear what was being said. You're leading the charge here, Dave.
Okay, Councillor McGregor, did you have something?
Yeah, like, my understanding is that there was issues with Councillor Rome's interactions with the contractor in the past. Not only the one from last year, but the ones from before. So my understanding is that it was an issue, Barry, and so I would like to see a replacement.
Just to put this out there,
Just a chair, please.
Chair. Just to put that out, everything is a time thing from the spring to the fall. Weeds need to be addressed at a certain time in their growth stage. There's times where these things have already gone to seed before the sprayer got there, or there's times where it was sprayed and the mower follows the sprayer. It's a time thing. You just can't. So I think that's where a lot of the problems come from, is the timing of it. So that's all I can say about that. Dennis knows about weeds. Brett and I both know about weeds. We know which ones are noxious and which ones aren't. So, but that's up to you guys.
Mr. Chair.
So my comment would be
Go ahead, Councillor Rome.
that it appears that head of council is trying to remove me from every committee and every position again. And if that's the will of council, then so be it.
Councillor McDonald.
Mr. Chair, I'm only going to bring this up, but my concern is much like Brett said. I heard there was, issues with the weed, our guys that did our weed spraying last year with our representative, and I just, that's my only concern is if they're gonna, I heard it was a very uneasy, they weren't very happy with dealing with our council representative. That's where I came from, and that's, if we can get with some guidelines and something like Brett was saying, maybe that was what we need to do, but that's my concern, that, we want them sprayed when we need it done. We don't want to be on the bottom of the list and then spraying in September. That's my own concern.
That was my understanding as well, Mr. Chair, that when the weed company was available to come to the spraying, our council representative sent them away because it wasn't the time that he thought was suitable. And unfortunately, that put us to the bottom of the pecking order for rotation to get the weed sprayed, which ultimately resulted in a late spring because they had already contracted with 2 or 3 other municipalities. So timing is of essence, I understand that. But could negotiations or something be started in advance with those companies to make sure that we are done in a timely fashion? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the process.
Yeah, Chair. We have a sprayer.
Yeah.
Why aren't we using it?
Mr. Chair, can I address that with I think, and it's no different than with the province or with us. It's to getting your license to spray is such a heavy course now, and cost-wise and the liability issues. So that we did talk about this previously on the last 4 years, and that's why it's higher done in pretty well all jurisdictions that I know.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Being that I can't hear a lot of what's being said there, that's no one's fault but my own. To just add to this, there's really only 3 council members that have the knowledge or are qualified to fill it. That would be your suggestion, Brett Margaret, Barry Fowle, and Mike. I think it's very well known that that my comments with weed control are that timing is everything, and that we need to have better coordination with our public works department. There has been very little cooperation in the past as far as mowers going out versus weed spray. And that's not going to change without a will to communicate.
Okay.
That's where it's my,
Pardon?
that's exactly what I was saying. I think the weed supervisor should be in charge of everything. And whether the faults fall on the weed supervisor or congratulations on a good job should fall on the weed supervisor.
But it's a timely thing, and it's working with the contractor. And that to me is, and I don't know that it's that time consuming. You guys would have to tell me that. I don't know weeds. I don't propose to tell anybody I know much about weeds. So we need somebody on there that's going to, number one, be able to do the job, and number two, work with the contractors. So.
And we have to also outline how much public works is doing or not doing at all.
Right. And that's, again, that's your transportation committee, working with that group too. So.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to respond to Councillor Fowle regarding our sprayer that we currently have in the municipality. The companies out there that could provide the drift spray that you would need for liability are very limited. There's far and few companies out there that would provide that type of liability coverage, and the cost to having that liability coverage in place, I honestly don't know if it would be cost prohibitive, and then the training, of course, that would be resulting as that.
Okay.
I'll do it if everybody wants.
Yep. There's no further comments. I'll call for the vote on the resolution that is the mover and seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. You are going to. Be it resolved that Councillor Hargreaves be authorized to attend the Municipal Weed Control Issues Seminar being held March 13th in Carberry, whereby related to registration, mileage, and out-of-pocket expenses being reimbursed by bylaw 05-2018. Would somebody please move that? Councillor Fowle, second by Councillor McDonald. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Flood preparedness seminar. Be it resolved that the emergency coordinator be authorized to attend the flood preparedness seminar in Brandon, Manitoba on March 12th, whereby all related registration, mileage, meals, and out-of-pocket expenses shall be reimbursed. Will somebody please move that? Councillor McGregor, seconder. Councillor Fowle. Discussion? Councillor McGregor.
Mr. Chair, so that would be us, right?
That's right now. That's who we have. Yes. All in favor? Opposed? Review of policy related to spending authorities and authorization. Be it resolved that all policies related to administrative spending authorities and authorizations be forwarded to the Personnel and Policy Committee for review. Would somebody please move that?
I think it was Councillor Rome's motion.
Councillor Rome, that's your motion. Do you wish to move it?
That wasn't my motion.
Oh.
Yes, you were.
My motion was that the resolution was that all capital purchases be approved prior to purchases being made by council.
Well, that's within the personnel policy procedures.
Yeah, sorry, Dennis, when I sent the email, our current spending authorities fall within those policies. So I thought you had agreed that if that's what needed to take place, that in fact that's what your resolution would be.
See, my impression on Joni was that the spending authority that was given, in particular to Public Works, was with regard to road work and road repairs, that type of thing, and did not include capital purchases of equipment.
What are you referencing as capital purchases?
Well, anything over $500 of revenue can be to be a capital purchase, but certainly the wheel weights that cost $3,000, and the mobile radios at somewhere in the $1,300 certainly fall within capital purchase.
Well, I guess I'll restate that. What are you referring to as capital purchases? What do you want to see in that category? What's the number you're working with? Are you working?
I think that we work with the number that works with.
Sorry, that didn't come through.
I think we work with the number that Canada revenue.
$500.
And your worship, it would still require a change to our existing policies.
Okay, we have to go through with this. Do you not wish to have this motion?
It can be a different motion, but it does require a policy amendment if council wants to go that way.
Councillor Rome, do you wish to not have this motion, do it differently?
Well, I wanted it to apply to capital purpose.
So is this?
I could reword it, your worship. I could reword it to be it resolved that all policies related to administrative spending authorities and authorizations related to capital purchases be forwarded.
I don't know what you're defining as capital purchase.
That would have to be the policy and personnel committee would have to make that determination. But if it is to outline that it is for capital purchases, I can certainly reword it to say that.
Councillor Rome, is that your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so be it resolved that all policies related to administrative spending authorities and authorizations related to capital purchases be forwarded to the Personnel and Policy Committee for review. So you wish to move that? Councillor Rome?
I'll move that.
Seconder? Seconder anywhere?
For discussion.
Okay. Seconder by Councillor Powell. Discussion?
So basically, there is a policy there that they're allowed to spend $10,000 annually on, is it not what you consider miscellaneous?
There's a
$10,000
There's a $10,000 spending limit, assuming that items are included in the budget item to start with. So for instance, you wouldn't spend $10,000 on parts and materials if you don't have $10,000 in the budget. So if the budget outlines a certain amount, the Public Works policy is spending $10,000.
Not included in the budget.
And only if it's included.
Only if it's included. Okay.
If there's purchases that need to be made that haven't been contemplated in arriving at our budget, that has to come to council.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Rome.
Jody, was where did the money out of that paid for in particular the wheelway?
Let me check with.
It came out of the tractor.
Out of the tractor budget?
So the line item.
So the tractor repair, you're using the tractor repair budget for a capital purchase?
The repair budget? Yeah. Yes.
So I would suggest that that's a poor use of funds. I mean, that's not a repair, that is a capital purchase.
Well, Councilman. No.
Mr. Chair, I just, like, you get money left at the end of the year in that tractor budget, it makes good business sense if it's something we need. I think we're not trying to make them that, I think it's good business sense for that.
Councilor McGregor.
Mr. Chairman, we just dealt with the spending authorities at the January meeting. I'm getting frustrated with dealing with the same things over and over. We just passed this in January, and now we're talking about it again. Our job is not to micromanage. Our job is to set a budget and have the staff, holding staff accountable for following the budget. I'm not interested in approving $1,100 worth of capital purchases or whatever. We've got a policy, we just approved it, why are we doing this discussion again?
Any further? So we have to vote on this resolution that we review
Send the
these, or
policy,
send it to the
yeah.
policy committee. All in favor of it? Opposed? Defeated.
Next is an added item that you don't have.
Oh, what I got?
Oh, do you? There you go, okay.
Be it resolved that the administration be requested to review the area in question and if possible move the material to allow backyard access. This is in regard to the end of the dike road in Wawanesa.
I'll word that better so that it clarifies
Yeah,
what,
maybe
yeah.
people aren't going to understand what a dirt pile is here. What are we talking? It's at the end of the dirt of the dike in Wawanesa, abutting onto Harvey Jones's property, and is blocking one of their exits, entrances onto their property. So it has to be moved.
We need a motion,
Yeah.
or a mover and a seconder.
So let's reword it though.
Well, yeah, I will, so that it is indicative of the
Okay.
end of the dike road.
So it's, I'm sure we can do that front end loader, can we not, with the town machine?
Yeah.
Okay, so mover, want somebody move it? Councilor McDonald, second myself, Councilor McGregor, discussion? Councilor McDonald?
Mr. Chair, my concern with this is that the dike ties in with, it's between the highway chair and the property, it ties into the back lane, so it's there for a purpose. And we could, if we get some excavation in town with material that, we can push across the block, or material we can put in there and level it out. To my knowledge, or concerns when you do the septic tank, they try to come up that way. So it's a matter, it's a little steep, they did come out of there this winter with their truck, but we definitely don't want to remove it, in my opinion, or we have to put that back out in a flood situation.
So is there another way of doing it, Darcy? Have you looked at it?
No, I looked at aerial maps, but it's just taken mid last week, so.
Can we table this pending review by Public Works, see what's required?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
can we move it at all? Like, can we?
You can add to it and slope it more onto the property with material left from, sort of Mr. Chair, going down, if you want to, say we have material from an excavation or something, we could soon dump it down there and slope it if that's what we choose to do, add a plan and material on that.
That was just blocking the gateway or something.
No, I can show you, or if you drive down, you can see, it's between the highway yard, east of the highway yard, and it's just where they brought the dike around to control the water in a high water situation. So it's just, because they can go down into the back, that's the only way into the backyard. And they just, to my knowledge, they just want it so they can get, there. So we can use covers and material for that. So I don't think it needs to be done right now, we tell her that.
Well,
we don't need this. Or 2 years down the road, if we get material, we'll use it.
Well, again, I'd like to table this, so Public Works can have a look at this. And move that, it's a table, second table? All in favor of table?
Who tabled? Seconded.
McGregor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, move is passed.
So it's tabled to the March 25th meeting to allow Darcy to have a chance to look at it.
We need more information. Okay, anything else? That's it?
That's it for this meeting.
Okay, be it resolved that the meeting does now adjourn to meet again on Monday, March 25th, 2019 at 9 a.m. in the Nesbitt Hall. Will somebody please move that? Councilor Sauer, second. We can discuss it. Seconder? Councilor McGregor, second. Discussion?
Originally, we moved it to a Monday because I was away. I had flying back Sunday night, so if you wanted to continue on a Tuesday, that's fine, but not the council, doesn't matter.
Monday's fine. I don't think Monday is anybody's.
No, I'm fine with it. Just,
okay. All right. All in favor? As opposed? Carried. All right.